Hi everyone, I'm here today to show you how I make my folios. So over the past couple of videos that I've done, I've shown you some folios and I've had a lot of questions on how I make them. So today I wanted to share my process with you. Here you can see a couple that I'm working on. This one is a trifold, another Christmas one, and this one is one that has fold outs on both sides. So I will show you how I do the trifold and then I'll talk about how I make it similar to this. So let me get my things together here and I will be back to show you how I do this. Before I get into how I make the folio, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the paper that I use. So for the base of the folio, so for the outside of this folio, I always use the Michael's Recollection 65-pound cardstock. Because you're adding digital papers or scrapbook papers along with some glue and you know, whatever other things you may be adding to a cover on your folio, I find that the 65-pound cardstock is enough because as you keep adding layers and layers, it's going to get sturdier and sturdier. And the other thing that I use for my papers, my digital papers on the outside, as well as my signatures on the inside for any papers that I happen to use digitals for, I use the Staples Inkjet 24-pound bright white paper. I have found this to be the right thickness for me to use. It adds some stability to covers. It's not too thin for signatures where you might see something bleed through on the other side. So that's the paper that I use. When I adhere the digitals to the front of a folio, I use just my glue stick. So it's nothing too heavy. You can of course use Fabri-Tac. You could use the art glitter glue. Whatever glue works best for you. I just happen to like that glue stick. The one thing I would say is when you're gluing your papers to the front, make sure that you have covered the entire piece, because if you don't, you're going to see bubbles. That bothers me when I can see that, and I generally take the paper back up and do some re-gluing. But perhaps if you're going to sew around it, because that's another option that you can do when you sew around it, it will adhere it a little bit better. So those are just some considerations for you while you're creating your cover and just some of the things that I do. So let me show you how I create that folio. Okay, so I have some pink cardstock here that I'm going to use because I think it's probably easier for you to see the scoring and how I'm folding it than it would be if I used the white. So again, this is just the Michael's 65-pound cardstock. I have cut it down to 8 1/4 this height because that's the height I would like this folio to be, but you would just cut it to the height that you want. You might want to leave it at 8 1/2 by 11 and then I've just left the 11 side here. So the first thing that I do is decide how wide I want my cover. In this case I want it to be 4 1/2, so I'm going to score here at the 4 1/2. The next thing to do, and I hope you can see that score line, the next thing that I do is score in my spine. So if this is 4 1/2, I'm going to make my spine a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to score again at 5 here. And hopefully I think you can probably see both of those. And then that's all I'm going to do on this side. So the first piece I always use for my cover. And Then what you're going to do, so you can see here, so that's the front, okay, with your 1/2 inch spine. The next thing I'm going to do is, and I'll do it off camera, I'm going to just cut this piece off, and you can use this for something else in your project. So I'm going to make the front and the back the same width. So I'm going to go away and do that now. So I've just got a smaller piece of this cardstock here. It's still 8 1/4 long, and this is how I score for the third flip on this journal. So I always score at a 1/2 inch, and this is going to be the attachment. So that will be attached to this side so that you can fold out your folio. So 1/2 inch there, and then I score the spine, which is another 1/2 inch. So now I'm at an inch here. And if my folio is actually 4 1/2 wide, so the cover, I need to score at 5 1/2 so that I make sure from the spine across is 4 1/2. However, I'm going to take it back to 5 1/4, and I'll show you why. So let me just go and cut this extra piece off, and I'll be right back. So what I have then is the cover, and then the last piece that I just scored. So I'm going to fold it on the score lines. So there's the flap to attach it, and then there is the spine. On the flap, I'm going to cut here to kind of miter that a little bit so that it doesn't show on the top and the bottom. And then what I'm going to do is glue here, and I'm just going to glue it on the back like that. That's it. I mean, that's how simple it is to make this. And then this will fold in like this. And the reason, you'll see the reason that I took it back a little bit was so that this flip does not get caught up in the spine over here. So let me go away and glue it. I'm going to use my Fabri-Tac to glue that, and I will be right back. So I've got that glued on. And the reason I like to use the Fabri-Tac as opposed to tape is because it gives you a little bit of time to get it lined up properly. So I added it to the back. So you could either add it to the back like I did, or you could add it to this side. Whatever works best for you. It was easier for me to add it to the back. And you'll see here, hopefully you can see, so this is the added piece, and I've taken it up just before that fold line so that it doesn't get caught up. And you can see here, this is why I cut it at 1/4 inch less so that it doesn't get caught up in either the signature or the spine. So you can see here then that this is where I've placed the signature, and then here is where I would sew in the large envelope. So this refers back to the video that I did of that Christmas trifold folio. And then on the back here is where I added that envelope, that flip out envelope. So I would recommend adding this envelope now. And then cover it with your digital papers. I just got kind of going on this and forgot I was adding this envelope in, and so now I've got to add a piece here, and it'll be fine because it's all patchworked, and I've got another pocket going in here, so it'll be fine. But of course you don't have to add that at all. So here again is where you can see here. Here is where I will add the signature, and here, I don't know if you can really see that spine because it's all covered, but here is where I will add a large envelope. So now for this particular journal, or folio rather, you can see it's the same. So here's the spine, here's the flip out, but then there's another piece on this side, and I just created this additional panel the same way that I did with this one. So it's just a double fold out instead. And then you can just add you know, your favorite papers, your digitals, scrapbooking paper to it. I would recommend using the thinner scrapbooking paper versus cardstock. The other thing you might want to do, if you have some great cardstock, like the Tim Holtz cardstock or some Christmas cardstock, you could make your folio from that cardstock. And then where you've got your this piece, you could create like a long pocket here to cover that. So just a few ideas. I hope this was helpful. I would love it if you'd let me know. If you have questions, please ask. And I hope you go out and make yourself a trifold folio. Have a great day.